Do you find yourself waking up in the morning asking yourself that age-old question, am I an alcoholic? As your head is pounding, your stomach is churning and you're racked with shame and guilt, you will not be alone. Everybody with an alcohol problem at some point in time is going to be asking that same question. And the problem is that it's really not the right question to be asking. So let's break that down a little bit. The term alcoholic is something that's just ingrained in our society. Ooh, are they an alcoholic? Ooh, they're drinking a lot. I wonder if they are this thing, this label called an alcoholic. But it's not helpful, and nor is it accurate to even refer to the term. Because what we are actually talking about is something called alcohol addiction. And using the term alcoholic, what that does is it excuses the 95% of us who have a drink problem and therefore have an addiction to alcohol. And it means that we never actually look at the problem or even think that there's necessarily a solution. What we tend to do is just think that there's something wrong with us. Because if everybody else can do this thing, this drinking alcohol, regularly, socially, whatever it might be, and they're okay, there must be something wrong with me because I know that I'm not okay because it's affecting my life. And what that means that in all likelihood, the person asking those questions, and that was me at one point in time, has an addiction to alcohol. But are they an alcoholic? No. There is no such thing as an alcoholic, and it is singularly unhelpful and misleading to use that term. Can you imagine approaching somebody, a friend of yours, and say, would you like some heroin? And they say, look at you with horror and say, no thank you, I wouldn't want to inject that stuff into me. Why ever not? Are you a heroin addict? Or to use the term we're talking about today, are you a heroinaholic? It's ludicrous, and yet I myself, as somebody who doesn't drink alcohol, I have found myself in a number of situations where I've been asked that question. You're not consuming alcohol, are you therefore an alcoholic? No. There is no such thing as an alcoholic. There are people who are addicted to drugs, and alcohol is a drug. It's actually a highly addictive drug, and it is the second most addictive drug on the planet outside of heroin. So it's pretty powerful in terms of hijacking our natural biology and pulling us in to its trap. There are a number of people who are right at the spectrum of alcohol addiction, at the end, where they are chemically and neurologically addicted to alcohol. These are the people who are in the absolute minority, and in all likelihood, if you're watching this, that won't be you. Alcohol problems and alcohol addiction affects highly intelligent, strong-willed, strong-minded women across the globe. And actually, the group in their 40s, 50s and 60s are falling into the alcohol trap more readily, more often. And it is the highly educated woman who tends to drink more for a host of reasons. So there is no such thing as an alcoholic, any more than there is such a thing as a smokeaholic. Would you say that somebody who was addicted to nicotine was a smokeaholic, or that they had a nicotine addiction? It is exactly the same. And so that is the sort of language we need to start using. And also, you will know people who were once addicted to nicotine who are no longer. Would those people be labelled their whole lives as a smokeaholic or a nicotineaholic? And would they then need to remain in recovery for the whole of their lives from this disease called smokeaholism? Absolutely not. And so asking that question, am I an alcoholic, is not the right question to ask. The question is, do I have a problem with alcohol? Is alcohol causing me a problem in my life in any way at all? And if the answer to that is yes, then it's likely that you're addicted to alcohol. Join the club of hundreds of thousands of women across the globe who are. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It is just something that happens when we take a highly addictive drug. So is it a problem, or is it just something that we do in society because it's what we do? I happen to love apples. I really like them, especially these pink ones. I really, really like them. If, however, at the end of the day I got home from work and what met me in the fridge was an empty packet, would I be bothered? No. Slightly miffed maybe if I'd set my heart on one, but really, it's just an apple. But if I was consuming a packet of these apples every single day of the week, and maybe 2 or 3 packets at the weekends, if when there was only one apple in the pack, I was getting panicky and needed to run out for a top-up, then I think, my friend, we could probably safely conclude that I had a bit of an apple problem. But the thing is, apples aren't addictive, and nor are they psychoactive. But alcohol is. There is no such thing as an alcoholic, which is why if you went to your doctor, they wouldn't be able to tell you if you were one or not. They would give you some questionnaires about this, that and the other. And that may give you an indication, but you will know. Just think of the apples. If you were about apples as you were about alcohol, would you say you had an apple problem? And if the answer is yes, then maybe start looking for a solution to the alcohol problem. Addiction can be unraveled. Addiction can be left behind. You do not need to label yourself as an I am anything for life. You see, I went to my doctor and I asked the question, am I an alcoholic? And I was asked a series of questions, one of which was, do you drink in the morning? And I said, well, no, not unless it's a special occasion. Maybe if I'm flying away on holiday and it's in the airport, we might have a glass or two of bubbly, or maybe Christmas, birthdays, special occasions. But no, I don't drink in the morning. But I might have the odd one before the school run. Or I might have the odd one at 5 o'clock just because. And maybe it's getting a bit earlier. And maybe it's lasting a bit longer. And maybe I am drinking more. They didn't ask any of those questions. It was just do you drink in the morning? No. Well, you're okay then. You're not an alcoholic. Off I trundle. Away I go. Even more confused because I know there's a problem. I wouldn't have been there in the first place unless that was the case. And I hate AA. I'm sorry if you're a fan. I hate it. The whole philosophy of handing over your power to something or somebody else. Haven't you handed over enough already to alcohol? We have all the resources we need to solve an addiction problem. And there is no need to walk through the rest of your life declaring, I am an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink for 365 years or however long it might be, and how many days and how many hours. That's like having a choice between being in a prison, locked in, and standing in the reception area of a prison, constantly looking at the bars from the other side, fearing that you may have to go back in one day. When addiction problems are solved, you can walk out into the sunshine, into the blue and beyond. There is no such thing as an alcoholic. And so rest easy, because you are not one. But that doesn't mean that you don't have an alcohol problem. It doesn't mean that you don't have an alcohol addiction. And that's okay. It's not shameful. It isn't your fault. It's nobody's fault that they fell into an addiction trap, given the fact that society almost makes it mandatory to take this drug. But it is your responsibility to make the decision to find out how to get out of it. The trap, that is, the prison and the addiction. Because you can, if you choose to. Take care.